Well, I'm delighted that I have our guests in the studio. So Kat and Rebekah are with us.
I finally got here, having wandered halfway around Stevenage.
Yeah. And Trev's now sitting next to me.
Yeah, with no headphones. So I'm just butting in.
Yeah, so you're gonna butt in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You look a bit weird on the. For those of you looking on Facebook, I'm sorry, he's sort of sitting behind me here now rather than next to me. But hey, here we go. So welcome both of you.
Welcome. Yes.
Thank you. You two are actually putting together a film called VvsV. For special charities and all kinds of things. Do you just tell us, give us a little précis on what it's about and why?
Yeah, no problem. Well, more than two actually. There's a whole team of us doing this. Project VvsV is Vikings versus vampires. It's a father-daughter love story with elements of war between Vikings and vampires. The inspiration came back in 2015 when... Oh, can you even hear me? Oh my gosh, people see that as well, don't they?
Yeah. People see everything you're doing here. That's right, yeah.
Only the people watching on Facebook.
Everybody sees it.
Just hide behind the mic. There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better. We could hear you before, it just wasn't very loud, so I just thought we'd make it a bit louder. So.
Okay, so Project VvsV, the idea of it was born back in 2015 when my dad passed away. He had cancer and dementia, CV dementia. And the idea was to make a film to raise awareness and hopefully a return for Cancer Research UK and Alzheimer's Association.
Right, yeah.
So that was in November 2015, he passed away. In January 2016, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, so hence the third charity came in then to raise awareness of having fibromyalgia in support of Fibromyalgia Action UK.
Okay.
It started off small. I had a small team, Marie Metheringham. I can never say her last name. She was kind of she's my wingman. She's a very experienced filmmaker. She said for me from the start, I got you, Kat. Come on, let's do this. We put a little team together. We expected a handful of local people to want to be involved because obviously the project is unpaid and it's for charity. When we put it out there, we were blown away by more than several hundred people applied to be part of it. Yeah,
fantastic.
We managed to process 350 and we invited around 90 along to a team building weekend, we called it, because we're kind of trying to do things a bit different to the norm.
Yeah. And these are all people who are volunteering, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're not getting, no one's getting paid for anything.
No one's getting paid, no, including people who are giving their expertise. You know, we've got people teaching different skills and acting skills. For example, Ross O'Hennessy, he's been teaching his master's acting class. We've got Rick Manning and the Flashing Blades stunt and combat team.
Wow.
Been coming down, yeah.
Fantastic.
Tyler Ford, our little superstar, he's only 10 years old. Everybody knows Tyler. I'm not going to go into it because everybody already knows him more than they know about Project VvsV. He's only 10 with a big heart, giving a lot to the project.
Wow.
Mubs Bajwa as well. Simon Fowler. There's so many names that I need to put
You can't name them all, really.
I can't name them all, no. There's too many. And obviously my fiancé David as well, David Phillips. We're not forgetting you.
Very important person to mention,
Yeah, he is.
I'm sure he's supporting you loads.
He is, yeah. He's one of the key people, actually. He's the person that people, I don't think, have realised just how much he is to do with the project, driving it forward, so... Where was I even going with all that?
Well, the thing is, it's a big social enterprise, isn't it? This is what really we think is really exciting, is the fact that you've created this social enterprise.
Yeah.
And Rebekah, what kind of things are you getting involved in? You've got special roles in this, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be in the cast, which is fabulous.
Right.
But I wanted to make a difference by being involved in acting coaching. We're producing the music, so doing a lot of singing, songwriting. My daughter is singing and producing lots of the music and the tracks as well for the film. My son is also a cast member.
Oh wow!
In it. They're both
it's a real family affair.
It's a right family affair.
How did you two meet? Have you been friends, or did you meet through this?
We have one word for you: Foxy.
Yeah, Foxy. All right, now you're going to have to explain that.
So he was he's a wonderful actor and man that I happened to meet on set for something else. He'd obviously met Kat through a different avenue, and I bumped into him by pure coincidence at a 50th birthday party around Christmas time. He started talking about this project, and I was like, oh my god, it sounds amazing. And I was telling him sort of my background, the music, performing arts and everything that I did. I do a lot of charity stuff anyway.
Right.
And he was like, oh my god, I can't believe I haven't thought of it before. Have to meet, you two have to meet. And he set up a coffee, and it's gone from there, isn't it? It's just been
so
morning
happens
coffees and
yeah, because we live so close together, we didn't even realise. Foxy didn't even know that he lived close to us either. And I remember the first time I met him. When we first put this out, the response that came back, there was overwhelming response, of aspiring actors and that.
Yeah.
And there were 3 people that came back to me with, how can we help you? And that was Wolfie Hughes, Simon Fowler, and Anthony Ford. Those were the first 3 people to come back to me and say, how can we help? And I was like, right, okay, I've got to meet with these people. And it's gone from that, from a small team to 3 people, to how we've reached out. I mean, through Anthony, we reached Tom Delmer, and what was the other? So through Foxy, Foxy's the one who brought Sarah and that on board, and Ross O'Hennessy, because they attend his master's acting classes that he runs in Cardiff.
Okay.
On a Thursday and a Sunday, if anybody's interested. He's very, very good at what he does. And I met with Ross, and I've never made a film before. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, I'm up against the typical filming industry here. And I expected so many people to say, you can't do it that way, it doesn't work that way, it doesn't work that way. And I remember the very first time I ever met Ross, and I was so nervous, just because of who he is, as a person as well. He gives a lot back, he does a lot for aspiring actors and that. And I remember my armpits were sweating and everything. And I remember thinking, oh my God. And I didn't even know who he was. But he was fab. And he's been on board from the beginning. And he's been really helping, And he's really successful in the industry himself. And he's just giving back. So he's completely on board just to help everybody else. And this was where the film went from a film for charity and that to the social enterprise. We grew to such a number that we wanted to make a difference to the people on board. There were so many people on board who have been touched by the illnesses themselves, who are willing to give their time and willing to do this. We just wanted to give them people the opportunity to have training, to have development, and in the future be able to wake up and do what they love for a living.
And that's a really different model, isn't it? Because not only are you creating a film in a different way, you are helping people
you're doing it the other way round.
Skills, either skills that they've got, or you're helping people to grow their skills. And everyone's doing this voluntarily for charities. I mean, it's just, that's why we fell in love with the project. And I have to mention Laura Saxon, because she's the one who kind of put us together.
She did.
I know Laura through some theatre stuff that we've done together, and it sort of, I don't even remember how it came about. I think she just mentioned that she knew I did the radio show, and it sort of went from there. So it again shows how all these connections happen together.
Absolutely.
But we're very lucky, because we've got an exclusive, because you've given us 2 pieces of music from the film that haven't been aired at all before, have they?
That's correct. No, not even the team have heard it yet.
Oh,
all right.
Only the artists,
So let's listen to one of them now. So the first one I've got actually is one that your daughter sings on.
Yeah.
So
she's created it.
She's created it as well. She's done everything herself. And so tell us a little bit about this one. It's called Haunted. Tell us a little about what it's going to be used for the film and the 2 singers on it.
Okay, so it's going to be used to how can you say it? Sort of visually. So visually, going to be sort of battle scenes between the king and the daughter. Right. It's got a very haunted feel to it, hence why it's titled Haunted. It's come from her and another singer-songwriter called Gareth Evans, who's very much into heavy metal style music. Not really jazzy style, but they've joined together to create something for this actual movie.
It's an amazing
and
song.
It's fabulous. It really is. It's very creative.
Their voices blend beautifully. Will everyone hear this? It's the first time.
Yeah,
it's being
very
aired.
first time.
It's called Haunted.
Yeah.
And then maybe after this we can talk a little bit about what the film's about, because Vikings versus vampires sounds quite interesting and very different anyway.
Yeah, right.
So this is Haunted, which is going to be in the film VvsV.
Body, I've battled against the fear.
Do you know what? That is just absolutely amazing. Their voices blend together. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It gives you a real feel about what the film's going to be. I'm guessing what the film's like. It's got that, I don't know, their voices are so rich. It feels very rich and full, and you know, they're epic. I suppose epic's the word I'm looking for. It is epic. Absolutely, absolutely epic. So based on that, tell us a little bit more about what the film, what the sort of the film storyline is
Kind
about.
of the story. Okay, so the storyline is of...
Because you wrote this, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I wrote the story, and then three of us put the script together, the screenwriters. That's Kate Hollenby and Maria Lee Metheringham. I always stumble over her last name. Put it together, three of us. So basically, it starts off in a then kind of era, hundreds of years ago, obviously, when the Vikings were around, and it's of the Viking king and how they've been at war with the vampires, and the vampires have been driven out, and there's peace at the moment. And the Viking king, his queen is pregnant, and the opening scene is you can just see they're being watched by a vampire.
Right.
And she goes into premature labour, and she's dying, and the vampire's like, I can help. So there's a big opening fight scene between Ross O'Hennessy and the vampire guardian, which we're still deciding which person's going to go into the role. Sorry.
You got yourself. So she's pregnant and
yes,
you've got the vampire watching.
So she's basically dying on the floor. There's a big fight scene because the Viking king hates vampires, doesn't trust them, doesn't trust that he's trying to help. He thinks he's just there for the blood. Long story short, the Viking king initially loses the fight and the vampire helps.
Right.
Hence, the girl is born an abomination. She's half vampire. She's half Viking.
Okay.
And then the story in the beginning is of the king and his struggle to raise his daughter, having lost his wife, and also run a kingdom, I guess. He's supported by his nanny and his best friend, and they kind of bring a little bit of comedy into the film, I'd say. Yeah. And then from there, it's about him trying to keep her secret. The secret comes out because she's a child at the end of the day, and then it's about the vampires and the power struggle and sending the daughter away, for. So
do the vampires and the Vikings, are they friendly to each other, or?
No, they're not. So they're completely separate. They're actually two vampire armies as well, and the two different armies depict the two different views that people have on the illness, on the cancer illness.
Yeah.
So you've got the dark orbs, and they're violent and raging and chaos, and will turn anyone into a vampire, and kind of the whole mindset of people, actually, of that cancer is vicious, that the illness is vicious, and it doesn't care who it attacks and how many lives it destroys. And then you've got the vampire queen's army, and she's neither here nor there. She's just vampire, and she's in charge of keeping order in the vampires. And that's kind of the other outlook on the cancer, is the fact that it doesn't choose anybody. It doesn't care. It doesn't do it to attack people or ruin people's lives. It just is.
It's just there.
It's indiscriminate, isn't it?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter who you are. Yeah.
So it's depicting kind of the two kinds of the cancer, and then we've got, as the king ages, we've got how his stressful life has brought on his kind of dementia, and he shows signs of memory loss and believing that his wife is still alive and things like that. So as we go deeper into the story, so that's back then. As we go deeper into the story, it comes into more of a modern day.
Right. Okay.
So we're bringing Vikings into modern day.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what they look like.
No, don't tell too much, because
absolutely. We don't want to give too much.
We
don't want to give too much away. Yeah.
No.
So
it kind of feels, to me, it feels a bit sort of Game of Thrones come.
That's funny. You should say that. I know a lot of people are thinking right now, oh, Ross O'Hennessy. he was the Lord of Bones in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
so.
but that kind of feel, that sort of that mixed with Twilight sort of kind of feel, because
very,
you've got the good vampires and the bad vampires in Twilight as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Me too.
I wouldn't say that the vampire queen was a good vampire. She's neither here nor there. She's just a vampire. She just exists. There is a twist in the end as well, which I don't want to say.
No.
I don't want to say.
No.
There's two twists, actually, two little shocking twists, but I really don't want to say too much about that.
No, don't. Because a twist could lead to a sequel, couldn't it?
It does. And a
That's right.
Oh, there you go. Didn't know
Another
that.
exclusive there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, shall we listen to the other tune you
Yes,
sent
please
to me,
do, yeah.
which is called Blood Tie. So where's this going to be used in the film?
So this is...
That's if you can tell us, of course.
Yeah,
if
it's not a secret.
No, it's not a secret.
Okay.
No, it's not a secret. I wish Maria was here to tell you about this part, actually, because this is her band, Northern Hotel, who have written this one, and it's one of the main theme tunes of the theme tune. Write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Sorry, I had to. Of the film. And what I asked for when they started creating this was something like a modern version of. How many of you have seen The Lost Boys? Come on, it's one of my favourite films. The Cry Little Sister track. I wanted kind of a modern version of that. And when they sent it to me, so I didn't even hear it myself until it was finished, really, only a little snippet of it. And when they sent it to me completed, I've not stopped listening to it. They absolutely bang on, aced it, just how I wanted it. So, yeah, here it is.
Fantastic. And the band's name?
Northern Hotel.
Northern Hotel. And where are they based?
Hull.
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 It's
Is that how you say it?
Hull.
Hull. Hull. Come on, Maria, help me out. Hull.
I was supposed
Yeah,
to.
she's
I was
from
going to
Hull.
audition for a play which needed a Hull accent and discovered I can't actually do the dates of the play, so that's gone out the window. So I was practicing my Hull accent. That's gone out the window. Anyway, this one's called Blood Ties.
Tears on your cheek, my child, as you wait for the sorrow to end. I can't describe what you mean to me.